Good afternoon and happy lunchtime in Malaysia, and good morning in Europe and the other side of the world if you are an early bird. Here we are in the studio again for the third Global Empowerment Summit, second weekend, all about personal growth and digital wealth. Amazing guest. Sharm was just telling me she's trying to catch up with all the sessions, so it takes time because there are so many, right?
Yeah, I know. There's so much of this stuff, and I really want to appreciate them and to learn from them because, like you, I'm into continuous learning. I love reading, and I love listening about. I love people's stories. I like the sharing that people have with their stories, and that really makes my life better. In turn, I hope to make other lives better by helping them share their stories. Yeah.
So I love to have you in the studio, and I love to hear about your perspective on your topic. But before I get there and I prepare your banner, I would like to ask you about a little short introduction. Maybe we can put a little bit of personal and a little bit of professional so that people can get to know you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Sham.
Yeah. Okay. I was born and bred in Malaysia. And I went to do my higher studies in India. I majored in biology. And when I came back, things changed, life happened. And I went into, actually, I lived in an ashram for 4 years. It was just totally different kind of a lifestyle. And I'm a little bit spiritual, a little bit. I'm not talking about religion here. I'm about connecting with spirit. And that way spiritual. And so after that, I thought about life and what would I do in the future. I wasn't going into higher studies again or furthering my studies, and I just went into an admin job and worked in multinational companies for a few years. And then I met my husband. Well, we have a lot in common, and communication is one of the things that we are both very passionate about. Good communication. So that's something. And music, we both love music. And what happened is we got married, and I went over to India because he's from India, and we started working together. We also joined Toastmasters, and became passionate Toastmasters as well, and that widened our sphere. He was already a trainer, and later I was a coach, a life coach. But we joined hands to become co-facilitators in many programs, corporate programs, and we love also teaching kids. So that's what we do nowadays. We train on presentation mastery. He trains on other self-leadership as well. And we also coach kids, which is our side hustle. We believe a lot in children being the future of our world. So yeah, a short brief about what we do.
Yeah, we will talk about this more. I think we just have a good enough time to take the top of it. But if people want to go lower and deeper, then they can also go and find you on LinkedIn, and they can connect with you on your social medias. So let's start with your topic. Your topic is communicate to connect, and this is something that we are exploring here. Krishan was doing a session on it with Yuva. There were people talking about, like Sanj was talking about communicating with our body. I was talking about how dance is helping me to understand people from another perspective, right? So what does this title mean to you, and what would you like to focus on? Communicate to connect. So explore the topic a little bit.
Yeah, I think various studies have shown that some of the main skills, there are about 13 primary skills. I can't remember all of them, but three of the primary ones were about persuasion, emotional intelligence, and leadership. Now, and communication as well. Yeah, that's one of them. And set aside communication as a skill. When you talk about leadership, when you talk about emotional intelligence, it also involves communication. Because how good a leader can you be if you can't really communicate with those you serve? And how can you actually be good at emotional intelligence if you don't actually pick out body language and noticing how people, you get these cues when communicating with people. It's just not the verbal cues, but it's also the non-verbal cue. So it's all involves communication. And I remember when I went to this corporate Toastmasters Club once, I was the general evaluator. And there was this person who was giving his icebreaker. It's the first speech where you actually talk about yourself. And he, his icebreaker was very, very intense and very, very dark, because a lot of bad things happened in his life. And so you could feel the emotions in the room coming lower and lower and lower. And by the end of his speech, he was so upset. You could see it in his face. And I had to give general evaluation later. And I told him, like, I think, it's good. I'm so sorry to hear about what has happened in your life. But if you're going to think about improving on public speaking and communication, I think you should speak about something that you like, something that gives you a little bit of happiness, joy, or incites your passion. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to suffer. I think the end of everything is happiness. I mean, you have to have the black and the white. In order to be happy, you should have felt some sadness to appreciate happiness. But yes, if you want to be a speaker, or if you be a good communicator, even for your family, when you want to be, you can talk about things, the reality of things, but you don't make people stay down there. You kind of have to bring them up. So communicate to connect is uh, about connecting to people's hearts as well as their heads. They say like data tells, stories sell, because stories is about emotion, connect you with your heart. And a lot of people can communicate, as in they can talk and they can speak, but do they actually engage the audience? And it involves a lot of things, because at the end of the day, if you want to be a speaker or if you want to be a good communicator, it's about the audience or who you're speaking to, whether it's your family member, whether it's a friend, whether it's a colleague or your boss. In meetings, in interviews, job interviews, it's all about who you're speaking to. So how are you going to connect? Is it what you want to share, or more so, is it more important about how people are going to receive what you share? It's all about the audience. Yeah, so that's communicate, connect. Kind
Yeah,
of.
I would like to ask the difference, because sometimes maybe people misunderstand, and I think the setting the definition straight, it always helps to understand things. So when you think about this title and you have communication and you have connection, these two things are often mentioned next to each other, but it's very rare that people differentiate and know what is the difference between communicating and connecting with someone. So how would you describe the two words, and what would be your differentiator between the two of them?
I think I'd like to use what my partner uses. It's 5 levels of communication in an umbrella. It starts with talking. Like when you learn to speak as a child, that's talk, right? And then when you make sense in sentences, good sentences that you can receive some feedback, that's speak, right? And then you have communicate, where it's a bit higher, where you can further get your point across. Yes, not necessarily that it'll be accepted by the other side, but you kind of get your point across and they understand you. Now, then the next step would be connection, because it's not that they just understand you, but they feel, or they kind of feel what you feel and why you're saying what you're saying. And that's when it's connection. So it's like various levels, and finally it comes to transformation. And that's the highest level of communication, when what you say can actually make a difference in someone else's life. And I think it's a gradual improvement of how you communicate with everybody. In some people will just perhaps it's making small talk, or how's the weather, whatever. And in some people you're speaking to them, maybe informing them or giving instructions. And sometimes you're communicating something important to somebody, like CEO communicating something about the company to his employees. And connection is maybe when you're a family member or someone close to you, or when you have something really, really important to say and you need to connect. Because if the other side is not able to receive or perceive what you mean or your intention behind what you're talking about, there's no real connection, you know. And it's not about what, as I said before, it's not just about what you have to say, but whether the other party is willing to receive or ready to receive. It's like people don't ask you for advice, but you're ready to give advice. But the other party may not need it at all, and you should be very able to know when someone really wants you, or has something they need to ask you. As teachers, and I call trainers and coaches are also teachers, sometimes we want to share so much, and that's not a good idea. I do believe in the less is more. Because of the bombardment of information, because of challenges we face right now, um, it's better to say less, but to say things that are worth saying, you know. And if, I mean, at the end of the day, of course, we sometimes we ramble. That's normal. We are human. We're rambling with our friends, relatives and all that. But if you get a place, you get a stage to share your message or to share something that's important or close to your heart, and I think you need to work on what you have to say. And because it's an opportunity that you get. It's a gift when someone gives you their time. That's why time management is another important thing in communication, because sometimes we say this, we've heard this quote: you need to learn to stop speaking before the other person or the audience stops listening. You can't really make people just switch off. And Jay, that's my husband, if some of you know him, he likes to say, don't teach, don't preach, don't screech. Likes to play with words, okay? Now, don't teach is when, you're telling people what to do, and when they didn't really ask for it. Don't preach, of course, it's preaching, like, how it is preaching. No one's really asking you to preach to them about something, say it's about the global situation or everything, unless they ask you, better not try preaching too much of that. And don't screech, because sometimes you have these activist style speakers on stage when it's not the proper place to actually be speaking like an activist. So much passion, but too much passion. And so it gets to that. And yeah, don't preach, don't teach, don't preach. Of course, this is not teaching as in educating. That's a different matter altogether. But yeah, I think you get what I'm trying to say. Hello? Did we just lose?
I'm here. It's
Yeah.
the thing with all the different speeches and all the different sessions that I put together. I just realized I put like 5 sessions or 6 sessions after each other. So the audience has to know that it's
You need a
something like
break.
I needed
You
like a
need a
little
break.
break to get some
I
snacks.
know,
So
I know you're amazing, Andrea. It's amazing what you're doing. So truly grateful that you're a blessing in our lives. And
no
I'm
problem.
glad
I
that.
just had some walnuts because I was feeling that okay, I need some energy because otherwise I will not continue until
No, it's so true. I
2:30.
think as speakers, and you are a speaker, and what's wonderful is people forget that speaking is a two-way thing. It's about listening as well as speaking. Communication. I mean, not speaking. Communication is a two-way thing. And you are a wonderful listener. And the whole Global Empowerment Hub has been built on this, that the ability for you to actually listen and speak and influence and persuade and, motivate us to be part of this. So, and also your sponsors and the people, I mean, 300 speakers, that's an amazing feat. I can't even get 3 speakers for our regular Toastmaster meeting. So that's a challenge.
It is, and people don't see that technology is super good, but it still didn't solve that you are also living your own life and you are also in front of the computer. And I would love to see and show the transparency. That's why my events are always like this. You are in my living room. I tell you what's happening. I remember one session, someone was ringing the bell because they were repairing the water pipe, and I was like, okay, I have to go now. So I was actually announcing that I have to go. And I want people to understand that technology and doing this stuff, being online and doing digital, doesn't mean that you have to stop living your life or taking some walnuts because I feel like I will faint if I don't take some energy because I'm sitting here for a long time. And this honesty is not coming through for me
No, no,
on
no.
social media, because you see this perfectly made up studios, the perfectly done sessions cut in the most of them are already not live but recorded, right? So we
Right.
have to show that we are real humans. We sometimes need to eat, we need to drink, we make mistakes,
True, true, true.
and this is part of our communication, and that's how we can connect, to show our vulnerable part and to show that
Yeah, yeah.
I'm still here. It's me, Andrea, who is hungry and I have to eat.
Yeah, I think that's so, so important to know that it's not a big show, it's just me. Okay, I'll tell you what's happening. Like I think yesterday's program as well, I've already told you, and there was my friend was walking this back of me. I'm in my friend's home because of the internet issues in my own home. So I've come here, and she's the primary caregiver of her dad, who's 81 years old, who's ailing right now, and so she has to go up and down. That's the reality of it. It doesn't stop me from speaking to you. It's not perfect, but it's so wonderful to have the support behind me with my friend helping me with this. And that's the reality of life. And so I'm coming across as I am, as you
No,
are.
I really love that. I mean,
Yeah,
we just have to stop to pretend that we are perfect. And I remember someone telling, "Okay, you have to show up in your full,
tired.
outfit, and you
Yeah,
have to look beautiful and all this." And I'm like, "Well, how can I do that if I am in front of the computer for 6 weeks last year, or now
I know
five
that.
weekends, and I don't have time to really recharge? Then how can I be
Yes,
perfect?" So I am not perfect. I'm myself, with my tiredness, with my honest action to give people whatever I have, without guilting myself of not looking how I want to look, or feel like I'm just like this. This is what you get.
yeah,
And I think this is something about your topic that is so important, that communicate to connect. It's about being
being
able to,
you.
yeah, being you,
Yeah,
being able to accept yourself and
exactly.
show
And
your
and
bad and good
yeah,
side, right?
yeah. And I also believe in the thing where people say half done is better than none. You know, my husband likes to quote this: "Every master was once a disaster," and we all were in the beginning. They are not overnight sensations. I'm still a work in progress. Uh, and we have to start somewhere, and we have to do what we can, because what we can do, even if it's 50% perfection, 50% of what you think is perfection, I think it's imperfectly perfect. I love what you're doing, Andrea. I just love what you're doing. It's so good. You've inspired so much, just being you. And I'm so happy that that's there out there, because a lot of people think it's about impressing. Communication is about impressing. Public speaking, it's about impressing. No, it's about expressing.
Mhm.
It's about expressing your true thought, your true feelings, and your true stories that you've gone through, the experiences you've gone through, and you're sharing it, so that maybe if you're lucky, or if someone else is lucky, it will add some value to their lives. Make a difference. And it can start from the home. I mean, with the way I once went to a corporate club, and there was this young lady, very, very, very pleasant lady, and all that. I said, "So, how long have you been in this organization? Toastmasters speaking organization." "Oh, 1 year." And I asked her, I'm a busybody. I asked her, "How far have you progressed? How far have you progressed with your project?" And she said, "Not very far. I've just done a couple of speeches." Then I said, "Why are you still in the organization?" And she said, "Sham, it's helped me communicate better with my son." And I think that's what it's all about. It's not this preconceived notion that you have to become an orator when you're a good communicator, meaning that you have to be a good orator, that you get great impressive speeches. No, it's a communication from heart to heart, and it doesn't take much. It's when people talk about fear of public speaking, I can empathize with that, because generally I am an introvert. My husband's an extrovert, but recently I came across this word called ambivert, something in between, and I think possibly I'm there. And uh, and it doesn't matter whichever word you are. It's just talking. It's just speaking from your heart and just being you. When you have chats with your friends, with your family, you're just being you. You take those chats. Public speaking is, speech writing. My mentees will ask me, Sham, I cannot get any stories. I cannot get any ideas to write a speech. I'm like, why are you overthinking it? You just take whatever you're talking about to your family members or to your friend, put it down on paper, edit it, and it becomes a speech. Can I give an example? Okay, once I had to give a speech. I wasn't ready for it. But since I don't like to say I'm going to drop out of a speech or for a meeting. So I went ahead. That morning, I woke up in the morning. I walked to the window. I looked out. I saw this old couple taking a walk in my community, right? So I was inspired. Oh, old couple is awake and taking a morning walk, and I'm here lazing around. So I put on my walking shoes. I put on my, uh, walking jeans or whatever, pants, whatever. Went out the door and went down to them and said hello. And this is the first time I'm telling good morning to this couple. And they've been walking like every day for a few months. I've seen them walking. And then I went on for my walk. So the next day, I gave a speech on that whole experience. It was just that. And people liked it because, it was just an ordinary me sharing part of my life or part of my day in an honest manner. So public speaking is not difficult. The fear of public speaking, yes, it's there. When I first started in Toastmasters, I had no problem speaking. I was a one-to-one life coach, counselor and stuff like that. And so speaking was not a problem. But suddenly when I joined Toastmasters, I was giving my first few speeches. Suddenly my voice was choking up, my heart was palpitating. What's happening to you? This nervousness comes in front of a group of people who are there looking at you with all this eyeballs. And I was thinking, what the heck's happening to me? And then the evaluator at the end of my speech, we have evaluators for Toastmaster speeches. And he said, Sham, do you have a breathing problem? And I said, only since I joined Toastmasters. And it's just that the fear of public speaking is actually and I was worried, is this going to get over? And one of my mentors said, no, Sham, just be consistent and just keep doing it. And after a few speeches, you'll realize something will change and it will be easy. And just like that, 3 speeches later, something changed. And I think what changed was I realized or subconsciously realized it wasn't about me, it was about the audience. And that's a big shift to know that, it's you're not really important. A fear of public speaking, I think someone once defined it as the fear of being judged. It's not exactly the fear of public speaking. We think, what will someone say about us? What would they think about what we say, how we look on stage, blah, blah, And when we do it, because you have to do it, you have to go through the discomfort. And when you come out on the other side, it's such a sense of accomplishment. It's such a sense of confidence. And this confidence it affects other areas of your life as well, because communication is something that gives you a one-upmanship. When you can communicate well, it makes you feel so good amongst the different sets of people, whether it's family, friends, colleagues, investors, when you have to pitch, So it's not difficult. It's just a skill that needs to be learned. And yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I see Andreas preparing in the backstage, so I will bring him up very soon. But he's like, I'm here. But before we do that, I would like you to summarize a little bit. So what are those 2-3 things that people can do to enhance their communication and connection? Like how would you summarize what is those takeaways that are the most important from the last 30 minutes that you shared?
Okay, I think just to realize that it's no big deal. It's just something, it's a skill. It's just a skill that you need to practice. Just show up, whether it's in communities like this, which is so supportive, whether it's in Toastmasters or some other organization, just show up. Be prepared. As yesterday when we were talking, be prepared to fail and fall on your face. It's no big deal. Seriously, you can get up. There's a Japanese proverb that says, fall down 7 times, but get up 8. And this is what it's about in life and in speaking. Just do it. Always remember that it's about the audience. It's not just about sharing what you know. but it's about also understanding whether the other party, the other side, the audience can or are able to receive what you share. So that's all I have to say. And thank you for this opportunity. And thank you, everybody else, for participating in this wonderful
Thank you
summit.
so much for accepting the interview and being here with me instead of hosting a panel, supporting your husband, being yourself and showing up for yourself and doing this session. And I just loved your share and the insights. And thank you so much. And I think Yuva just loves your quote. So it's nice to have you here.
I'll ask Jay to say it in Japanese.
Yeah. Can you speak Japanese?
Okay, thank you. And thank you. I can't speak Japanese, but I love the Japanese culture because so that's it. Anyway, we're going to speak more at the workshop. So hope to see most of you there. We are willing to share 30 years of our combined experience.
Yes, we will have a workshop which will be led by Jay and Charm, and they will be talking about keynote speaking and how to make the best out of it and how to be an amazing keynote speaker. So I'm so looking forward to it. And if you want to have some information on it, just go to the globalempowermenthub.com and you will see how you can subscribe to that. And I think that will be nice. I'm so looking forward to it. I always learn from you guys how it's done and how
Thank you so much, and we learn from you.
So everyone is loving the Japanese quote. Let me bring Andreas up. He's already eagerly waiting to come up on the stage. And Charm, thank you so much for your interview and have an amazing time. And we see you more. I see you more in Malaysia.
Yes, definitely.
Great to have Jay also here.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye. All right, so here we are switching speakers and Andreas is already here. So I will just prepare the stage for him and bring him up. This will be an amazing conversation. Andreas is someone I'm really looking up to, and he has a new way of embracing digital, which I am really following curiously, doing all these beautiful videos and getting more and more creative of doing these things. And yeah, I just want to hear about his journey, about his digital transformation and also his profession, because he is redesigning NLP. So let's come and bring him up. Hi, Andreas. How are you today?
I'm unmuted already. Yes, I am. I am in a training actually here right now. In a communications training. I'm in my office and I hope my internet is stable because it's like a little bit wobbly today, and I see that I'm much bigger than you on the screen. That will be very, very amazing for the audiences to watch me too big and you a little bit further away.
No problem. I love this one because it's a warm welcome into my home, and it's a wide angle camera, and I like to use this because it gives such a nice welcome.
And let's be on the topic already. I love my Zoom sessions, my Zoom trainings with audiences often. Now this one is face to face, but during the pandemic we were doing many Zoom trainings, and every now and then you see little children crawling up or babies coming up, or the family members peep inside what's going on, and I enjoy it because it gives a look into people's life. It's not just professional, not just a hotel environment, and we talk about life only, or personal or professional, but you see a glimpse into people's life. And that's what I enjoyed with in the Zoom meetings during the pandemic, which are slightly reduced. The pandemic is gone, hopefully. Not quite, but I hope it's gone soon. But the Zoom meetings get reduced slightly, which I like, but it's like, wow, okay, different style again. And NLP redesign, you call it NLP redesign. When you put it up here, they're like, oh, you put pressure onto me. What do I share here right now? And you put the digital transformation onto me as well. So I'm opening it up to you, Andrea. Ask me anything and I give you the best idea that I do have as usual as I can.
Yeah, first of all, I'm so thankful that you are jumping out of your training just to do this and replacing this with I hope you still have some time to eat because it's your lunchtime.
I get
So
something done. I'm eating too much anyway. Hey, Malaysia, we always eat. So it's good not to eat sometimes, honestly.
or just telling Sharm I will disappear and eat some walnuts because I feel I put a lot of sessions after each other, so I have to energize myself.
Right,
So
right, right.
so nice to have you here, and I just love your energy. We met several times. We happened to meet also in person, and I so love the conversation. There is so much more behind NLP, and there's so much that I resonate with as a dancer and someone who's using dancing as a coaching methodology. So I really, really love to explore an NLP more. But before we get there, let's just introduce yourself a little bit, like who you are, what is your focus, and tell us about your favorite place in Malaysia, because you're living here for so long.
Okay, yes, I live 30 years in Malaysia or Asia, coming now in January 1993. I arrived in Malaysia. Yay! Never looked back, never looked back, and I decided to stay in Asia at that point of time. Got to meet my wife, went to Indonesia, went to Singapore due to the Asian crisis, lost some jobs there. I came back to Malaysia in 2000, worked in an HR consulting company, which I totally, absolutely loved. The culture was awesome, but something happened along that line that when we interviewed CEOs or managers or directors, I heard a inclination, always people saying like it's hard to change behaviors. Now I was always in the world of change, from student times onwards to working with the United Nations and in working in Africa, working in Sri Lanka and all that. So I was always in change, but I nearly got hypnotized by the notion it's hard to change behaviors, until way back in 2003 I came across this beautiful tool called NLP, or neuro linguistic programming. Nobody knew at that point of time what it was. I didn't know as well. But I learned in that 2 days alone only, it's possible to make changes and lasting changes quickly. It doesn't need to take long. Nobody wants to suffer through change. Change can happen instantly. Depends on what change it is, but even rapid and transformational change can happen instantly. So at that point of time, I decided to become an NLP trainer, became an NLP trainer 2005, 2006. Learned along that line after that hypnosis, became a master trainer of hypnosis, one of, I think, only a few master trainers of hypnosis across the world. So I'm allowed to train trainers in hypnosis as well. Something called timeline therapy techniques, a tool to let go of negative emotions and limiting beliefs from the past, from the root cause. The very first time somebody experiences anger, sadness, fear, guilt, or the notion of I'm not good enough. Hey, what Cham said earlier, was it Cham? So saying like I can't present on stage is a limiting belief. Remove that. Learned something what we are training right now, the language and behavior profile, a tool of applied NLP. NLP coaching, I train NLP coaches, quite amazing coaches that operate hugely successfully in Malaysia and overseas as well. Never look back, since 20 years in the industry, and it's like, wow, it's my lifestyle.
I love it. And it would worth a session just to talk about your adventures by moving from one place to the others and how you adapted to it. So maybe
Oh,
we will do that next year
that would
in
be,
the
oh
live
yeah,
in-person summit. We will share all these personal stories. It's
the
just
fear
so
I had when
exciting.
Indonesia collapsed. Yep.
Oh yeah, a lot of things that we experience while we are moving to other countries. So I just want to
Yep.
say thank you to Yuba, Christian, Jack, to tune in and to support you, and Al is here too. So thank you so much.
Oh, that's great. He's nearly half his
Yes,
session. He's not doing anything.
yes. Al
But
and Jack
listening to
always
you.
supporters, and then we have Christian
Yay.
and Yuba moving in supporting each other. So it's great to see this, and I
Awesome,
would love to
yes.
see this more in the future. That's where we are going to, building awareness and helping people to work as a team and empower each other by being there and by showing up. So let's go to your topic, Andreas. We have like around 20 minutes to explore. So NLP redesigned, NLP in the midst of digital transformation, in the midst of changing and an exciting time in life, I think, because this is such an exciting time we are living in. It's
Oh,
the
yeah.
fast pace. We just talked about VUCA, like the fast paced, volatile ambiguity, and everything is coming together. It's so complex, a lot of noise. So, how would you approach this situation from the NLP perspective? What would help people to slow down and say, okay, I have this. There's so much knowledge and information bombarding me. So, what do I do with all of this?
Well, tons of questions already, Andrea. Wow. Okay. The one thing is, I always like to say, coming from NLP here right now, is we have all the resources to succeed within us as well. What does it mean? As an NLP presupposition, a linguistic belief, a convenient assumption in of NLP. NLP has got a lot of convenient assumptions, but one is we have all the resources to succeed inside of us already anyway. What does it mean? We all have succeeded in life. When you were a child, we forget it often, okay, how often we have changed throughout our life already. The crises we managed in our life already, the challenges we faced, harder challenges, smaller challenges, but challenges overall. And all those changes helped us to grow. I mean, none of the audiences, none of the people around are the same as we were yesterday, 2 days ago, last week, last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Show me one person who hasn't changed over the last 10 years, and I show you a miracle. Honestly speaking, somebody who hasn't changed must be a miracle somewhere along that line. We have the changes inside of us. But when something dramatic happens, and I think you indicated it very nicely, like suddenly the pandemic happened way back in 2020, March 2020, nearly 3 years ago, it was a revolutionary change. We always think about, usually, and it was also changed for me, we usually always think about changing one area in our life. I stop smoking, I eat less, I want to have a different career, I want to open my own company, just one area. But when COVID hit, everything changed, from health to personal relationship to how we run our finances, how we are running our running our families. Everything changed. All areas of our life were impacted, and that freaked people out. And then many people got into panic mode. We got to do everything, jumping online. Let's do webinars. Let's do digital transformation, or the word pivoting. And that it didn't help as well. It's like throwing more oil into the fire. Some people could do it easily, and others who had a bit of a challenge looked at them and said, like, wow, how do they do that? I need to do that as well. What do? We go to Shopee, we go to Lazada, we go to Amazon.com and buy, not realizing actually we need to sometimes, and one guy in hypnosis was saying it, sometimes it's good to stop doing what we are doing, relax, go slow to be faster. That's a
I love
very
this.
statement.
I love this. Let's say it again.
Slow down to be faster. As easy as that, okay? Because sometimes it's just taking a break, taking a snapshot. Where am I right now? What do I have inside of me already? Some of the people here in the audience, maybe you can ask them, who here in the audience has experienced the Asian crisis? Shows my age. But Asian crisis 1997, 1998, or the financial crisis in 2008, who experienced something along that line? Who has lost a job before unexpectedly? Who had a problem finding a new job? Who worked in a bad relationship, got out of it? Who had a terrible boss, but got out of it? All of that gave us strength. And the question is really, what did you learn from that situations? What did you learn from that situations? What is the strength, the capability, the identity that was shaped in those critical situations? And how can you use those skills in the future going forward? So sometimes it's really about stopping where we are right now, looking backwards, and recollecting the resources, recollecting our strengths, really reconsidering who are we as a person, who are we as a person, and who do we want to be in the future in a changed environment. And to continue on this one, I mean, I threw out 253 ideas in the same time. It is not the environment that should influence us, no matter what happens around us. It is, who do you want to become in a changed environment? Think differently. Who do you want to become in a changed environment? because that's how change is happening. That like a Steve Jobs, like a Elon Musk, good or bad people, I don't know right now, but they have something in their mind that they see. Jeff Bezos, Amazon.com, I don't know, I always pronounce his name wrongly. What do they have in their mind and make it happen? Andrea, what do you have in your mind with the Global Empowerment Hub? You have something in your mind, and no matter what happens, you're going out there and you create your environment, you create your world, you shape the world the way you want to have it, how you want to see it. And that's what it is all about. No matter if COVID or digital transformation or a new job, a new lifestyle, losing your weight, who do you become ultimately? Who do you become? What are the values and beliefs you want to hold as a new person? And then what are the capabilities you need to look at to add on to your arsenal? And what are the capabilities and strengths you have already? And that ultimately will change your behaviors and creates a new environment. That's my thinking along that line. Comes from NLP, but it's like how I like to think about it as well.
Love the passion. It's all coming through, and I think that's something that I just love to see. Like people in this field, I want to see passionate coaches. I want to see passionate trainers, because if the trainers are not passionate enough, if you don't love what you do, then how would you like to inspire others to do something, right? I mean, that's something that is the key of everything, because that's a real resonation that I see, that you love this. You are just right now at a training, jumping here and expressing how you love this and how it's developing for you. One question that came to my mind before I bring up another question from Justin and Archan. Archan has a question. So when you are having people like us, we are ignited by changes, we are ignited by a very stressful situation, and what we make out of it, it becomes our engine, and then we are thriving on it. I believe we are sharing this experience. But what is with the people who react in a different way, for whom it's a block, it's a freeze? So how do they start to experience it differently from NLP perspective or from your perspective?
Two things. I mentioned earlier, go slow to go faster, but hey, I'm speaking like a bullets train here. It's hard for me to slow down, but it's mindset ultimately as well. It's actually nothing to do with NLP, but is NLP as well. It's all about the mindset. Some people have a hard time changing. It's how we are filtering out information. We are looking, and I'm coming right now from the language and behavior profile, where it's the lab profile, language and behavior profile is really the focus we are having and how we are perceiving situations around us and how we are filtering out information flooding on to us, and which information do we allow in, which information becomes relevant to us. And some people, many times it's the consultants, the coaches, the trainers who are thriving on change. We want to change everything, and we want to constantly change. And then we are working with a majority of people already who are kind of on a slower change and looking for more dramatic change, maybe every 5 to 7 years. That was a research done many years ago about change indicators. And there's a larger category of people who only initiate, that's the main word, initiate change anytime between 15 to 25 years. So every 15 to 25 years in a certain context, not overall always, initiate change. And look at our parents, how long were they in the same job? 15 to 25 years, and they enjoyed it. Even though everything has changed for them, it was already, I do my job, I totally enjoy it. For other people, it's like, I stay in the same condominium area also for about 15 years already. There's no change. While in my work, I'm constantly changing. So in different contexts, we like to change. Again, it's about how do you, when you have to change because things turn topsy-turvy around you, look again at the area where you have changed before. We all have changed, even those who perceivably never change. And it might be as small as I changed my food diet or I'm going to no longer eat Malaysian food, but maybe more Western food. It's a change for some people. Or I eat no Western food anymore, I eat Malaysian food. It's a change for some people. It can be radical. So how do you change in one environment, and then what did you do there, and how can you apply that one in another context, in that context where you need to change, because you ultimately want to be the driver of a change. You don't need to change everything all the time, but in certain areas you might actually be required to make the changes, and that's what it is about.
Okay. So you are saying that you're modeling an experience which was successful, where you had your fulfillment, when you feel that you achieved something, and you are remodeling it in a situation where you are just in front of the challenge, and you say, okay, I will do the same here in this situation and I will get through it, right?
It's one thing, but if you really have a hard time finding something within yourself, you can also look outside of you and look at who else has done these changes before in a similar situation to me. So I'm not looking at an Anthony Robbins, for example, who is like way bigger than I am. I would look at similar people in a similar context to me, but who are ahead of me in a certain area, and think about what do they do differently from me? What could I implement from them? It's like copying what they do. People always say like copying is bad, but it's actually modeling, seeing who's excellent in that field already, in that area already, and what is something I could simply implement within myself. Change doesn't need to be dramatic and huge. We always talk about the big hairy goals, right? Many people have failed in their life before. They are scared of change. And if you're coming up with a huge big goal, they're saying like, oh, no, not for me. I've learned to fail unconsciously. And if I do that, I'm going to not make it happen again. I'm going to fail again. I don't want to do it. And they're struggling and they're fighting and they're resistant overall. Sometimes what Anthony Robbins is saying is 2 degrees of change. A plane taking off from KLIA, the airport, flying to New York. If the pilot decides, hopefully nobody ever will do that, today I'm going to be in a different mood. I'm flying 2 degrees from my planned ahead. What is it called? Flight zone area, pathway, whatever it's called. 2 degrees away from it, from KLIA onwards. Will they land in New York? Most likely not. Most likely not. They will land somewhere very, very different. We don't recognize that even a small change in a certain area of our life, ultimately followed through, can lead to massive changes overall. And that's how change happens, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very, very good explanation and good examples here. Dear audience, if you're listening to this and it's too fast-paced, please do listen to it again, rewatch these sessions, make your notes, because sometimes it happens that we are on a heightened energy. Every person is different. So sometimes your energy level is not matching what you're watching. So then I just tell you to come back to these sessions when you are on the same hype, like Andreas, because he's super hyped from his trainings, coming here and super hyped to explain his passion. So guys, it's a very good thing. In dancing, we do it very often to just align your energies, and don't worry if you are not aligned in the moment when you are doing something. Come back to it and try it again when you are in the same energy, so that you are matching and you are understanding and digesting well. So just to reset the room.
Enjoy the sessions anyway, because there's so much information and knowledge that you deliver over the last 1 week alone only. 3 more weeks to go. My goodness, you have to watch it. It's your Netflix show for the next 12 months, basically speaking.
Don't worry, I'm coming up with an idea to deliver these sessions into their email boxes very nicely, in a nice pieced out way. So
beautiful.
They will get it in the future.
Of course you got the idea. And hey, when I talk about looking at people who are excellent and from whom you can learn something, I learned tons from Andrea. I'm amazed. She's a one woman show who is like organizing like 300 speakers, making it happen. Look how much even I'm a totally messed up person in that area, how much you can learn from a person like Andrea, organizing all these sessions for the audiences here and for more people to watch it, and the passion and she's got, being 24 hours online constantly to make these people like me giving their stuff. I think it's amazing what we can learn from you. Honestly speaking, there's a personal, excellent model of excellence just in front of you here right now.
Thank you so much, Andreas. I
was so happy, I have to say that, Andreas, but I was so happy when I learned one area that you are not yet where you also messed up something. I was celebrating. We were celebrating. We found
We were
something. Yeah.
celebrating together. I mean, that can
Yeah.
happen, and I mean that's the celebration of being human. I think if you can keep this like this, that people can see you as you are in the moments when you are down and when you are up, and they see the real you. That motivates and models more because you can resonate more.
Exactly. And I like what I learned from one NLP training company in Canada. They were actually saying they are looking for failure. They're purposely looking for situations where they can fail. And everybody was wondering why that's the case. And because the person, he was saying then, hey, if I fail, I know that there's still something to learn from me, that I don't know it all. There's always something to learn. So he looked for failure because he knew nobody's perfect. We learned that earlier. There's still something out there which helps me to grow, expand, get better, and learn from. Otherwise,
I
life
mean,
would be
life would be
boring as
so
well.
boring. Yeah, I'm
Exactly.
saying the same. It would be so boring to do that. Like,
Exactly.
exactly same time.
Exactly. That's what it is all about. Close the books and bye-bye. I'm perfect already. How boring would life be?
And we have one interesting question, and I'm hoping that you will help me to understand the question. So, Alchen is asking, do you know what was your past life warrior from your life regression timeline therapy?
Oh, yo.
Alchan is going deep into it. You have 5 minutes to explain.
I don't know actually.
Okay, so you have something new to
Because
hear.
timeline therapy is not necessarily about going into past life. So when I did timeline therapy can be past life, passed down, can be something passed down to us genealogically via different generations, of course, the learnings, experience a generation has, or timeline therapy operates also in this present timeline, so that you are starting off here. But I think, yeah, I think I might have been a warrior before, but I might have been a really cowardly warrior running away from all the battles and trying to look for harmony. But when you are looking for animal signs, for example, I like the tiger. Tiger is one of my favorite animals because the tiger can be very hanging around, enjoying the sun, lazing around. But if he needs to pounce, then the tiger pounces.
Powers up. Yeah. So true. And then that's so nice to mention the tiger, because tiger is something very important in Malaysia and in Asia in general. So it's kind of fitting you moving to Asia. Such a nice symbolism here. And I like that Achan was mentioning we are on a Japanese bullet train of Andreas too.
Yes, absolutely. So what else can you ask me? NLP redesigned. See, what I do always stress in our training is how do people use NLP to create their life? What do I mean by this? It's not just necessarily learning the tools of NLP, the methodology of NLP, which is useful, but it's about how do you use your mind, how do you use your heart, how do you use your emotion, how do you use your body in order to create your life. So integrating it as an application for your life. So when I'm sometimes speaking to people and say like, yeah, I learned NLP, but I moved on, I cry within myself. Because NLP is about using your mind, body, emotions, heart to create your life, spirituality, if you want as well, to create your life. So some people, they don't need to learn NLP. Like, again, Steve Jobs, for example, or Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, they have a strong mind, can create something as well already. I don't know if they learned NLP. Maybe they came across NLP, but they use their mind to visualize knowing what it takes to create their life. That's what it is all about. So really, NLP redesigned to me is about how do you integrate all these tools inside your life to make your life a success, a pleasure, a fun. Life should be fun along that line. So busy having fun, even working your challenges, having fun, learning something new through your challenges, having fun overall. So how do you use your mind when something is happening? Hey, I can learn something here right now. What can I learn here right now? How do I make it happen? How can I overcome the challenges? How can I create my life? That's what NLP to me actually is all about.
Love the summary, and I think we arrived to the end of the session. I have to jump and invite and embrace my new speakers coming up in 5 minutes. So Andreas, I wish you an amazing training with the people that you are training now. If you are guys interested in NLP training, we have an interesting package on the website, so you can sign up with Andreas and go and become an NLP practitioner, which will enhance your own lives also. So thank you so much for coming here, Andreas. I appreciate that you took this little time for us.
Johnson, all the audiences and the questions and the participation, and I'm joining whenever I can into this session.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well. Absolutely. And
have your lunch and have a beautiful time, and see you very soon.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Bye.